So, hi again. I think today we're having a slow night. We'll just start with the 44 who are here, and then the rest can just join us along the way. Uh, with us is Kiiru Maina, who we've had before talk on different topics, but I don't think for this current cohort you've interacted with him. We are proud to say that Kiiru is an alumni of Cyber Shuja, and he has great insight in the cybersecurity field, both from class and from the places that he has worked and the kind of projects he has contributed to. So he has extensive experience in identifying and mitigating security risks in product development. In this session, Kiru will be taking us through threat modeling and what it takes to deliver on this particular expertise in the field, what the industry is looking for, and also what kind of skills to build on. So I hope we have an interactive session and we can listen to the insights he has. Yeah. So thank you so much, Kiru, for joining us again and accepting this invite. And as usual, it's a pleasure to have you. Kiru, karibu.
Hello, how are you?
Hi.
You can hear me, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sawa. So, like Hope said, my name is Kiiru Maina. I'm a proud alumni of Cyber Shuja. The was it the third cohort of the Cloud and Network Security track. Um, I'm glad to be back here once again, uh, doing such a session. And I hope you benefit and learn a lot from it. So, what we're going to talk about today is we're going to be talking about threat modeling. So, I understand that there was a talk on threat modeling given 1 year ago, exactly at a time like this, or around a similar time. So I shall not delve into what was talked about then. I shall take you through threat modeling from a business perspective. This is one of the reasons why I'm doing this is at the end of the day, you guys are going to either run businesses or get employed in businesses. So as you progress in this particular field, you'll need to understand them. You'll need to convince people at some point why you need to be there and why cybersecurity is good for business and not just the technical bit. So I'm just going to show you threat modeling from a business perspective and not from a technical perspective, as people make it sound like. I believe there is a business facet to everything. So to guide me, I prepared some slides, and I shall share my screen in the next few in the next few seconds. Uh, you can confirm if you're able to see my screen by posting a reaction. Oh, good. Thank you so much, Sarah. So, uh, so we're going to talk about threat modeling, and as I said, so to break it down, I'm just going to keep the presentation bit as short as possible, and we focus more on the practical bit. We can have a case study running on the practical bit. So, like I said, there was a slide, there was a whole session on threat modeling. So I shall just cover the basics, and then we'll delve deeper into threat modeling. We'll delve into one particular form of threat modeling. So, we're going to do an introduction to threat modeling, understand why we do threat modeling people who don't know what threat modeling is, and then we're going to look at the different ways that you can perform threat modeling, and then we'll take one of the ways that we do you can use to do threat modeling and have a practical on it, and then we can have a question and answer session, and then we call it a night. So I shall proceed to the introduction. So when you think about threat modeling, it's just the definition is just in the word, in the phrase. So it's just basically a way to have a it's just a way of approaching different threats and risks that 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 can occur in an application, and determining possible mitigations and to reduce or mitigate this particular, to reduce, transfer, avoid, because you either there are four ways you can deal with risks. So you can either reduce the risk, you can avoid the risk altogether, you can share the risk, or you can accept the risk. So those are four ways of doing it. And then the next, so threat modeling is basically used in you can use it when building applications, you can use it for business processes, you can use it for networks, you can use it for distributed systems. uh, just to throw in a joke, if you've watched movies and series, you've definitely watched Prison Break. That's if you're born in the late 20th or the 21st century. So the engineers there will have done threat modeling, and Michael Scofield and the rest of the people who have escaped from prison. So that's one of the many applications you can use threat modeling in. And threat modeling basically is a proactive approach that helps you to get to get to understand the different threats and vulnerabilities that you might be facing when you're building your application uh, in the early stages during the design phase. So I'd like to take you back to class and your system analysis and design class, where we learned the software development lifecycle, where we say that there are five stages. So there's the development, there's the design, system analysis, system design, development, testing, and implementation and maintenance. So you can break down the fifth step into two. So you can call it 6 steps, some call it 5 steps, some call it 6 steps. So you can choose to split the implementation and maintenance. And so this is usually done in the design phase. So you're able to look at the different flows that might arise from the software designs that have been raised by the software architects or the engineers or the people driving the product. And so that you're able to look at the risk and come up with possible mitigation strategies. And this will also help you make business decisions in the long run. And based on different understanding, you're able to understand why this was designed this way and not this way. And this will also help the people coming in to do the testing, the developers when they're developing, and support when they're providing support when they see a functionality and they wonder why this functionality was deployed this way, not that way, or why does this application work this way, not that way. Yeah. So those are some of the objectives of threat modeling, like I said. So I shall now get into the threat modeling methodologies that are there. So we have several. We have one called Stride, we have one called Pasta, we have one called Octave, we have one called Dread. All these are short forms that I shall explain in the long run, so don't feel intimidated. I shall take you through all of them one by one to ensure that you're somewhere by the end of the session, or rather by the end of the day. Uh, so I shall start with Stride. So Stride was developed by Microsoft. The year eludes me. So just sometime in the 2000s. So what these people at Microsoft did was they took all threats that exist, all threats at that particular point in time, because yes, all threats that exist at that particular point in time, and then categorized it into six. So think about all threats that face applications, networks. At that time, maybe let's throw in IoT there, applications, networks, IoT, every cybersecurity threat that existed at that particular point in time, and categorized it into six key categories. So you had spoofing, and then you had tampering, then you had so spoofing is basically having performing an action as someone else. So every action that involves impersonation was categorized under spoofing. Any threat that was that had uh, that involved manipulation of data was put under tampering, and then every threat that um, every threat that every threat that involved involved repudiation was put under repudiation, and then every threat that involved disclosure of information that was not supposed to be disclosed was put under excessive excessive availability of information was put under information disclosure. Um, and then we had every threat that resulted in a service not being available was put under denial of service, and any threat that was under that involved escalation of privileges was put under escalation that involved privilege escalation was put under escalation of privileges. So uh, like I said, there was a talk that was done on threat modeling sometime last year. So for I'll not dwell so much onto Stride because that's the methodology that was used in that particular presentation. So you can go ahead and you can head to YouTube and search for threat modeling with Tracy McDonough. That is going to be the first video that's going to show up on your search query. So I think I shall leave Stride at that, and then we'll go to something else. So the next methodology that I'd like to talk about is pasta. So pasta is an acronym, not food. I know it's 7 p.m. and some of you are hungry, so don't get your taste buds going for now, because I mean we're talking about food. So yeah, so we have process for attack simulation and threat analysis. So the threats, so this particular methodology is focused, tends to bring more people on board, like as compared to Stride, because when you look at Stride is completely technical. It just looks at threats facing an application based on those six categories. Yes, it covers pretty much everything, but it doesn't cover the business side. And you can't build an application or a product if there is no business. So what Pastor does is it looks at all this. It looks at the business side. It looks at the different processes that are there. It looks at the product itself, and so and then now you're able to build risks based on able to come up with different threats, different risks affecting that particular that particular project. So you have this is also adaptive because in as much as yes, Stride is good. I use Stride everyone's. I've been using Stride for the longest time, but Stride has its own limitations because you a threat model done with Stride is just going to appeal to the development team and not the business aspect of it. So there will be that disconnect with those two teams. And trust me, you don't want to be in a situation where business and the business side and the tech side are not in understanding with each other, because I mean Yes, I understand your product is the business. The product is the business, and the business is the product. So if the two of you can't relate, you're better off being in the long run. You're better off having another. You're better off not even doing the product as a whole. So yes, and so pasta is broken down into 7 processes. So the processes are quite lengthy. So I got something easier that can help me remember, an acronym that can help me remember. So it's D cubed, then AVR. So you can call it DAVA, DAVA. Yeah. So it's up to you to choose what exactly you're going to call it. But let's call it Dava for now. So the seventh Dava is broken down into, I shall break down Dava into all those things. So the first one is defining, you need to define the objectives. So why are you doing this application? Are you doing it? I had someone saying that they first built their product as a way of escaping poverty. So yes, so you're building this application to escape poverty. So, or you're building this application to address this problem in the market. If it's a problem that you have seen, you're building this project, this product or this application for for myself as an organization, for example. So I have a HR department and I don't have HR staff. So I want to simplify the process of the HR processes for me. So I'm building an internal product for myself. Or I have seen people selling on social media platforms and I think it will be nice to build a marketplace for them. So I'm building this marketplace to to assist people selling products on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, so on and so forth, for them to have a place to sell their product. So it's an external product. Um, I need this. Are there any regulations that you need to put in place when you're building this particular application? So do you need to adhere to any standards? So if it's an e-commerce platform, just know you have to adhere to a regulation called PCI DSS. If you're building it for the EU markets, then you have to ensure that this application is GDPR ready. If you're building a hospital management system, then you need to look at, yes, I'm building it to be compliant to a standard like HIPAA, for example, and so on. And so the list goes on and on and on. And then the next step is to look at the technical scope. So what programming languages are you going to use? Is this application going to be web-based or mobile-based? Is this going to be run on the cloud or run on premise? And so on and so forth. And then now that you have what the business wants, and then you have what the techies want, then you can go ahead and break down this application into small components. So you've seen the first 3 Ds, hence the D cubed. So you have the definition of the objectives, definition of the scope, and then decomposing of the applications. So so decomposing the application, you already have the design at this point. So break down this design into smaller bits for you to be able to analyze it, come up with threads, look at the different vulnerabilities that may come up, look at the different flows that arise from the design that is there. And then the other step is now that you've already decomposed it, you can do it hand in hand. As you decompose, you can come up with the threads that are there. So have a deep understanding of the application and come up with uh, look at different threats that face the applications. Like uh, someone keeps on telling me that there's nothing new under the sun. I think you guys have had this like before. Uh, so have a have evidence showing this threat might affect this application. So one of the ways to do this particular stage, it is highly encouraged if you use cyber threat intelligence from vendors. You can use tools like Mandiant. You have OpenCTI. You have very many OpenCTI tools available. You can go ahead to your favorite bug bounty platform. If it's HackerOne, you can go and look at the activities page. So it has all a good number of publicly disclosed findings affecting different organizations at one point or another, and how exactly you could reproduce this particular issue, and then you have the impact and so on and so forth. So when you're doing your threads, just uh, when you're doing these threads, also have evidence showing that this is possible, so that when you're presenting, like I said, faster brings everybody to the table. So you need to ensure that you have evidence to avoid selling fear. So have evidence to avoid fear mongering amongst your team. And then analyze vulnerabilities is the next step. So that's the V. So V for vulnerabilities. So vulnerabilities are points of weaknesses. So what can be what can come up because you have maybe poor coding practices, uh, your trust model. This was meant to be trust. Your trust model uh, as a result of your data flow diagram and so on and so forth. And then attack analysis. So this involves coming up with an attack tree or an attack path. So an attack path is I have an objective. Why would I attack your application? So this is, I think, this is one of the most common questions I hear developers asking when they're building an application. Why would someone attack my application? It's not like it has anything. Or yes, so this is told by this clearly shows that the person asking this question does not have an attack tree or hasn't done threat modeling using the PASTA methodology. So to come up with an attack tree through showing why you will do it, why an attacker will do it, and how exactly they do it. And then the last step is risk and impact analysis. So when you've done all these things, you've come up with different risks. So now you just categorize them based on impact, compile every other thing that was done in the previous steps, so that you can be able to come up with a proper risk report showing all the technical and non-technical risk affecting your product, and how you're able to mitigate them. So there are other threat modeling methodologies. This list is not exhaustive. So there is one complicated one called DREAD. So DREAD stands for damage, reproducibility, exploitability, affected users, and discoverability. So a lot of this one has a lot of math to it. So if you really love math, I'd advise you to use that. And then we have I've talked about pasta. So we have Octave. So Octave is I like to think of it as a do-it-yourself sort of a framework. So you customize it based on your organization's needs, and then you have it running for you. So I've forgotten if there. I don't want to lie to you, but I'm not sure if there are any principles. But I strongly believe. I'd like to believe that there are no principles. So you can go do a little bit of homework and find out if there are any principles on to it and anything of the sort. But from what I see, I don't think there are any principles. And then so I think we're done with the theoretical bit. And but before we start, uh, I'm going to take you through some of the vocabulary that involves threat modeling, so that we're able to avoid having. I don't want you to ask yourself, why am I? What is this? Why is he using this word and not this word? oh, this guy is using. I also don't want to throw you into a level where you have. I want it to be as easy as it can be for you to understand threat modeling from a practical point of view. So the first word that I'm going to use quite repeatedly is data flow. So a data flow is basically information, an arrow showing how data moves or parameters that move in this particular application that will be threat modeling. And then the second big word the second big phrase that I shall be using tonight is trust boundary. So this is basically uh, this is basically an interface showing that these are two different interfaces. So now that we are here together, I am sitting on a table on my computer. So there is a trust boundary between me and the computer. And there's another trust boundary between my computer and Microsoft Teams. So I don't know if you get the boundary there. So they're all different. They're all on different interfaces. Me, I'm a human being. The laptop is on my table, and the Microsoft Teams is hosted in Seattle or wherever it is it's hosted. So yeah, and then a process is not the whole flow of of the application of the model. A process is just a small bit of the model. Think of it as the decomposed service. So yes, so that's a process. And then you have a store. So a store is where the data is being stored. So this can be a database, cache, so on and so forth. So yeah, so with those big words uh, explained, we shall now look at a practical. We shall now have a practical. I shall now give you an example of how to perform a threat model using a case study that was generated by ChatGPT. So we have a company here called Giraffe Inc., which is a tech company that seeks to build a marketplace which enables commercial businesses to buy farm produce from farmers without the use of an intermediary. So as as the DevSecOps champion at Giraffe Inc., you have been tasked to work with the business development and the developers to develop a threat model that shows all a good number of all risks and possible mitigation strategies. So, all risks sounds very interesting. Uh, you really can't cover all risks. I mean, is there anything that's 100%? Just try as much as possible to be close to 100%. So I'm not going to sell you perfection, by the way. If you came here looking for perfection, at this point, I'd like to ask you to please leave the meeting as we delve into threat modeling because this is not going to be as perfect as it may sound. So we won't cover all risks, and I don't think any threat model covers all risks. Yeah. So our business development team was very delightful. They're very perfect people to work with at Giraffe Inc. So they came up with business requirements. So what do they require from this particular platform? So they need to have a ability for farmers in the Giraffe team to upload products to the e-commerce platform, and then also ability for the customers to view and purchase products using secure payment channels, and then uh, compliance to PCI DSS to ensure that customers are able to make secure payments, and also an ability of a way for data analysts to transfer data to their favorite data analyzing tools to be able to assist the business development team to make data-driven decisions because every business in the 21st century loves making data-driven decisions. So yes, so our technical team came up with a high-level design diagram. So we have our user here called Opelen. So So Opelen wants to use this system to view products, and then once she views all these products, she needs to select a specific product, and then to view that particular specific product. So in this case, let's use mangoes. So we have mangoes, oranges, potatoes. What other farm produce is there? Onions, so on and so forth. So when Ellen selects mangoes, she needs to see mangoes. So she needs to view a specific product. And then let's say Ellen wants to buy mangoes, but she doesn't have enough money to buy mangoes. Or these mangoes are not in stock because it's clearly not mango season yet. So what Ellen can do is add this product to a wish list. Uh, and then and then if this mangoes are in season, assuming she's looking at it in right in the middle of January, she's able to add this product to the cart, and she's also able to view the products that she's added to the cart when she gets into the application. And then now that she can view all these products in the cart, she can make payments. Let's say she wants to buy mangoes, so she'll go and make payments using mobile money or card payments, because those are the two methods people use nowadays, right? So yeah, so Helen can run her card, can put her card on that particular application, and then they have this diagram is not very conclusive, as you can see. So we have a database there that when Hope Helen makes a payment, we're able to store some of that data, not all, not everything. So it's a high level diagram, so you don't know if everything is being stored. And then so we have and then we
Yes,
have hello, yes, can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you, but I'm requesting you do a full screen because we are not able to read the diagram clearly.
Good. So what about now?
Perfect. Thank you.
Welcome. Good. So we have we have a database here that stores payment data. So we have another system for the data analyst. So we have a data analyst on the extreme right called TEMS. So TEMS can be able to during payments, Opelin can apply for, maybe Opelin has a discount code that gives a 10% discounts for all banana purchases above 50 shillings. So she can be able to apply that coupon there. And then so now we have Thames here on the extreme right. So Thames is able to collect data for further analysis to be able to assist the business in understanding. So Opelen added mangoes to her wish list. So why did she add mangoes to her wish list? So we can always send her maybe marketing campaign, a marketing email telling her, oh, is that banana you added? Oh, we have mangoes now, it's January, and so on and so forth. And then yeah, and then Thames can also use that payment data to maybe understand Opelen's patterns and make and send her maybe marketing content regarding maybe Opelen buys potatoes every second Sunday of the month. So if a second Sunday of the month has passed and Opelen hasn't bought potatoes, Thames can always send an email telling her, by the way, we have a 10%, here's a discount code for potatoes. And then Opelen will go buy potatoes. Anyway, yeah, so we have the technical requirements. So we have a high level diagram. So and then we have the the technical stack. So we have maybe the development team has settled to use Django for backend development. and then maybe they want to have a mobile app, so they're going to use Flutter, and then to store all this data, they're going to use Postgres for database, and then because they're they're building this in 2024, they're going to adopt technologies like containerization. So maybe they'll have something running like Docker, and then they'll have Kubernetes running to orchestrate all this, uh, to manage their containers. Once their product becomes very big and has 1,000 consumers using it every single minute. So yeah. So now now that we've tackled the first two stages, so we've looked at the objectives, which produce the business requirements, and then we've looked at the technical scope, which produce the high-level design diagram, and the 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 different frameworks that are going to be used to develop this application. So the next thing that I'd want us to look at is we're going to decompose this particular application based on this particular diagram. Based on this particular diagram. So just allow me to look for that file. Okay, so yeah, here it is. So to save time, I sketched this diagram earlier. So I shall, don't get intimidated. It's a very simple thing. So so we have all these components have been broken down into different bits, all called processes. So when I was talking about a process, so the ability to view products is a process. The ability to use the shopping cart is a process. Uh, the ability to use a wish list has been set as a process. The checkout page is a process or a service. So I built this with the assumption that it's going to use a microservice architecture. So you're going to see so many stores. So yeah, so we have the web interface as a and then you have this trust boundary from the web interface to the different services, because all the services viewing products is decoupled from the shopping cart, so you don't have one code base. So this also gives luxury for the developers to wake up and say, oh, Django is not a good language, we're going to use PHP. Sorry. Yeah, we're going to use something else. We're going to use Ruby on Rails, for example. We're going to use something else. So they can have Django running on this, and then they'll have something else running on another service. So this is not about microservices, but I think um, if we can talk about microservices in a later day. So yeah, so we have authentication as a service. So, and then we have the ability to view products, the product page as a service. And then we have the shopping cart as a service. Then you have the wish list as a service. And then you have the checkout page as a service. And then you have this other service that they call analytics. So this is for tenants to look at. So so this diagram, this dotted line that is here, shows the trust boundary. So maybe you don't want to have the web interface because these are microservices. So all the services are decoupled. So we have a really huge boundary here separating all these individual services. And then we have we have another boundary separating the authentication service from the store. This thing that looks like an equal sign is a store. Like I said, a store is a database. So what we're using here, we're using an application called OWASP Threat Dragon to build to decompose our application. So this was built. Hello. Okay. So this was used to build this was built with threat modeling methodologies like Stride in mind. So you're going to see it's very Stride centric. So so it might not be the best, but it's 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 what we have. Yeah. So as Gen Zs would like to say, Indio Eco. So yeah, so we have ability to view all products, and so under viewing all products, you have the trusts boundary that separates the database, the products database, and the product service, and then you have the shopping cart, and then you have the trust boundary for the shopping cart database, and then you have the wish list, and then the trust boundary for the wish list database, and then you have one big trust boundary here for the showing. We have a secondary database that is going to be used by the people doing analytics to to avoid stressing. These are the databases that we have. So so we have and then we have this other boundary here that holds payments data and checkout page. And then we have this many arrows moving around the diagram, the whole model. So we have this arrow showing movement of data between the authentication service and the web interface. This is what Opelen is going to see here. So she has to see that data from a web interface. Then we have products with an arrow showing, and then when Opelen logs in, she's going to her or signs up, her user data is going to be stored on the store for user data. And then you have the products page. It has a flow of data from where you're just able to get products from the database, and able to see the products that are collected by this service, but that are fetched by this service from the database on the web interface. And then you have data flowing from the shopping carts database when someone adds or removes a product from their shopping carts. Uh, able to do that. This is demonstrated by this flow of data, and then you have you have flow of data on the web interface. I think you already have the hang of it. So yeah, then you have the checkout page with the same, and then now you have these arrows that go towards this slide. So you have data that's coming from the wishlist service that the analytics team needs, that Thames needs, our data analyst needs to send data to analyze this data. So we'll have a secondary data. So that means we have secondary flow of data from the wishlist service to the secondary wishlist database. And then we have another flow of data from the checkout page to the secondary payments database. And then we have another flow of data from the shopping cart to the secondary shopping cart database. And then all this is going to be used by the analytics team. I forgot to add uh, a data flow here. But yeah, so that's it in a nutshell. So now that we have decomposed this application, we need to go look at all these threats. So we need to look at threats that affect all these services. So we need to do a bit of, like I said, analyzing of threats. You need to look at the different services that are the different services, the different threats that have faced multiple applications or face your application. So this is where you do some threat intelligence, you look at case studies and so on and so forth. So I forgot to attach evidence here, but I'll tell you that when you click on a process, we have something that pops up at the bottom on this tab called threads here. So we have a tab on the right called properties, and then we have a tab on the left called properties and one on the right called threads. So on the properties tab, this is where you're able to give your tab name, your processor name, and a description, and then you're able to specify whether it's out of scope or whether it's in the scope. And then you have checkboxes here, whether it's a web application or a payment service. For card payment, whether it takes card payments, whether it stores goods or services, and so on and so forth. And then you have the privilege level. And then on the right, you have threats. So all these are threats that are associated with that particular process. So the reason why they are orange and this one is black is because there are no threats here. I haven't put any threats here. And we have one here that has threats. So the orange ones have threats and the black ones don't have any threats. What I mean is, well, of course they have threats, but I didn't put them because some of them are a bit repetitive and also in the essence of time. That's the reason why I didn't put it. So we have authentication. So we have injection attacks. So when we open this, we're able to give our threat a title, and then we're able to specify whether it's open, mitigated. So in this case, it's open, and then we're able to specify the priorities. So whether it's low, medium, or high. So we're able to perform ability to perform injection attacks such as SQL injection, cross-site scripting, cross-site request forgery, and path traversal, which isn't really an injection attack, but because I didn't want to create another threat, I just put it there. But best practice is to have you can break down the threats. You can go deeper as possible. So, so the third stage is just about writing threats. So we'll pass through the mitigations later. And then the other, on the authentication bit, we have brute force attacks, we have credential stuffing, we have phishing, we have session hijacking, we have insecure credential recover procedures. So you can go ahead and give examples of this. So performing a brute force attack, what is a brute force attack? Trying different combinations to gain access to a legitimate account. So where did you say this? I learned this as a result of ABCD. I saw it in a particular activity. I saw it in another engagement. So yes. And then credential stuffing. What is credential stuffing? Credential stuffing is basically using a legitimate user identifier and multiple credentials for you to be able to get that particular to get access to that particular account. Uh, where did you say this? I saw it in a previous engagement, so on and so forth. So phishing. So phishing. Uh, what is phishing? Of course, you know what is phishing, and how can phishing be exploited in this? So you give a detail. I can set up a similar site and have the same information. I can send malicious emails to users to gain access to these particular credentials. Session hijacking. So what is session hijacking? It's using legitimate sessions to gain access to particular to user accounts, and then you have insecure credential recovery procedures. So I have a business logic flow in my forgot password, so I'm able to take over someone's account using the forgot password functionality. View products. So I put one one vulnerability here, which was SQL injection. So let's say if a product is out of stock, it's hidden. We have a database column showing whether something is hidden or not hidden. So what is hidden is not shown on the products page, and what is not hidden, what is hidden is not shown. So am I able to manipulate SQL queries to show this? So is hidden a true false true false data type, a Boolean data type. Yeah, so that's the thought process behind SQL injection. Then we have our shopping cart. Our shopping cart has race conditions. So what happens if I put more than one the same discount code at the same time? Will that mean that I get two discounts? So it's a very interesting vulnerability. There are so many HackerOne reports that have race conditions findings that have been disclosed to the public. Price manipulation. What happens if I put a negative price on my product? Will the checkout be negative? So will the application be sending customers negative invoices? Insecure direct object references. I'm able to see someone else's shopping carts. Yeah, price manipulation and negative purchases have the same thing. So another example of price manipulation was, let's say a product is being sold for 1,000 shillings. Will I get it for 500 shillings or 700 shillings or 200 shillings? So that's what I meant by price manipulation. And then you have the checkout page. So we're storing cards on our local databases. Is that good? Is that secure? Is that a risk that we want to have? And then should we choose not to comply to PCI DSS? So what risks are there? So that is also insecure payment processing. So this is a compliance issue. And then one other threat was I only put one database threat because all database threats are almost the same. So improper access control. So what happens if I get a user who shouldn't be having super user access to that particular user database. So they have the ability to create new users, edit users, drop users, all those things. And they're not supposed to be having that permission. Improper configuration of users the database. So you have default settings that might lead to information disclosure and so on and so forth. Data loss. This is what happens if the intern drops the database accidentally. So is there a backup? What happens in case of ransomware? Those are some of the questions that you ask yourself on data loss. Yeah, so now that we have our threats figured out, we can move on to the next step, which is analyzing the vulnerabilities. So we're building this particular application, right? So there are flaws that might come in during the development process. So how are we going to analyze our code? The last talk I did was it lifecycle? I can't remember, but the practical bit we talked about static and dynamic application security testing. So you can have a look at that. So this is where we review code for vulnerabilities when they're on your as early as on your IDE. So you have this, even the developer knows that they're coding bugs in the development process, and then you have it running on your version control system, so GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, so on and so forth. So performing this dynamic and static application security tests, and then having if you now that we're using Docker, what are the vulnerabilities that come with it? So using outdated images, uh, having
Hi, Kiiru. We've lost you. I think your mic was muted or something. Hello, Kiiru. Okay, so let us give him a few minutes and sort whatever technical issue he's encountered. Yes, John?
Came a bit late. I was just asking, is this session, will it be uploaded? Will it be recorded and uploaded?
Yes, it's currently being recorded. It will be uploaded on YouTube.
Thank you.
Any other non-threat modeling question? Yes, Frank.
So what's the YouTube channel?
Cyber Shuja.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Hi. You're back?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry for that slight disturbance. Kenya Power and the rain, huh? So yeah,
Okay.
wamenua steamer, but we're back. So where are they? Where did you guys lose me?
The slides on vulnerabilities, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, good. So
Frank, your hand is up. Go ahead. Oh, that's from the previous question. Okay, just go ahead, Kiiru.
okay, you can see my screen, huh?
Yes.
Okay, so we have our Docker container vulnerabilities, and then we have now that you're using Kubernetes to manage our containers, how are we going to secure Kubernetes? So how are we going to handle our logging? How are we going to ensure that our pods are secure? The standards that are there when you're building this Kubernetes configuration files. How are we going to handle secrets? Are we going to use Kubernetes secrets or whatever it is that you're going to use? Yes, so handling secrets, application secrets. So how are we going to handle our API keys and so on and so forth? And then so the other thing, the next step was attack analysis. So developing an attack tree. Like I gave you an example of how an attack tree is, what an attack tree is. So how exactly will an attacker why would an attacker attack our why will the threat actor attack our application? What will motivate them and how will they do it? So so I did a practical attack tree. Just give me a moment to here it is. Okay, good. So an attacker will want to steal user data from our application, right? So so how will an attacker do it? They have four major ways of doing it. So they have they can use valid accounts. So and then they can use a supply chain compromise, which basically talks about exploiting services that are not on the application per se. And you have phishing, and then you have insider threats. So a good example of supply chain compromise, because I think that might be the newest thing here amongst all these things, is I'll give you a short story. So there's an interview that uh what's his name? This guy was arrested in France the other day. Pavel Durov did with Piers Morgan, where he talked about how and when he was traveling to the US with a Telegram developer, they were one of them was the developer was uh was was called aside, was interviewed by well, it wasn't an interview. Interview is just a play of words. I don't know the right word for that. Was interrogated with with the US government, and they wanted him to tell them, amongst many things, what are the libraries that are being used by Telegram. So the reason why they wanted this information is for them to have, because a bunch of these libraries are open source, for them to maintain the code and add a vulnerability on this particular one of these many services that they might be using. So that's what they meant by, so that's a supply chain compromise. They don't directly attack Telegram, but they'll attack a library that Telegram uses to achieve something. So yeah. So under valid accounts, so they'll perform a brute force on valid accounts. They might perform credential stuffing attacks to gain access and steal this data. They might perform password spraying attacks, and they might have business logic flaws on the password reset functionality on on that on that on our e-commerce platform, on their password reset functionality on our e-commerce platform. And then so we are using Kubernetes. So one of the many vulnerabilities affecting Kubernetes are our Docker container, for example. So if our Docker containers are not maybe well updated or properly configured, so this might be one way of getting initial access to our application, right? And then I'm using outdated libraries. So you're using an outdated version of your favorite library. So so library like Pillow, for example. I'm using maybe Pillow version 7 point something. I don't know where it is now, but let's assume it's at 10. So maybe 7 has vulnerabilities might get us initial access to our application. So that's one way an attacker will do it, for them to steal data. The other way would be phishing. So phishing, they might perform email spoofing attacks. They might perform smishing attacks. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but this time of the month, there are very many SMSs saying the landlord has changed the till number to a phone number for you to pay your rent and stuff like that. So that's an example of a smishing attack. And then phishing attacks is what Citizen TV speculates are people from committee. So they'll call you and tell you, "Hi, I'm calling you from Giraffe Incorporated, and we've seen an activity in your account. So please let us reset your password," and stuff like that. And then insider threats. The reason why I haven't put insider threats in, I haven't broken down insider threats, is because insider threats is so many. They're very, very many. You can't exhaust the list. So you can have insider threats on their own. So maybe someone has access to the database, they steal all the data. Yeah, someone, yeah, and so on and so forth. There are so many ways of doing insider threats. So that's why I don't have it there. So that's our attack. That's our attack tree. And then and then the last bit is risk and impact analysis. So at this point, we go back to our threats, and then we are able to categorize all this. So based on the mitigations, and yeah, we're able to prioritize this. So, well, in in my opinion, so that you don't go around quoting me, in my opinion, I believe that SQL injections and cross-site scripting attacks are slowly becoming a thing of the past. Hear me out. This is because a bunch of frameworks that are being used nowadays have protection against some of these vulnerabilities. So you have things like the object relational mappers that help you parameterize your your SQL your SQL statements if you need to use those statements. So you don't really have this prevents SQL injection attacks to a certain degree. And then this if you're using something like Django, you have able to variables in templates are skipped by default. So yeah, and then we have default CSRF protection attacks. So you have all these mitigations all across every thread. I believe has mitigations to it. So if you go to this, you have this, and then you have checkout page. You have this. So you have the mitigations there, and then you're able to prioritize whether it's high, medium, low. So you prioritize it here. And if you believe in putting scores, it's a concept that has never made sense to me up to this point. But if you really have a way of doing it or of computing it, I'm willing to learn from you. But I find it really absurd scoring a vulnerability on a scale of 1 to 10. I mean, where is the math? I don't know. Yeah, so if you have a way of doing it, please can shoot me a text on LinkedIn or WhatsApp, wherever it is that you're going to find me. So yeah, we can talk about the score thing. So basically, that's the last step. Then now you compile your report and you share it with all stakeholders. Then that way they'll be able to understand where you're coming from. So if it's this insecure payments processing, this appeals to team compliance, right? So compliance is happy with you. It's not a security thing anymore. Negative purchases appeals to sales, or price manipulation appeals to finance. So finance is happy. So this appeals to them. This is for them. Risk conditions appeals to sales. I mean, why is my discount code being used 2 times and it was meant to be used 1 time? So this appeals to them, and so on and so forth. So this is a threat model for everybody. So now that you've gotten to the end of it, I hope I did not bore you with details. You can have questions. I think I came in when someone was asking a question. You can ask. I'd like to open the floor for questions with Hope's permission, of course. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiiru. I think that is in order. Let's just go into the question. Lisa, go ahead.
Thanks, Hope. Hi, Kiiru. How are you?
Hi, Lisa. How are you? I'm fine. What
Fine,
about
fine.
you?
Hi, thank you for asking. This is really exciting. I'm really excited. So, out of curiosity, what are some of the tools that I can use to map out risk like this? Because I'm really interested in risk management and threats.
Okay. So in this case, I used this. What you're seeing on my screen right now is called OWASP Threat Dragon.
Sorry?
OWASP Threat and then Dragon.
Okay.
So it's an open source tool built by the guys at OWASP to help you decompose your application and map all your risks like this. So yeah, so this is one. There was one by Microsoft. I've forgotten what it's called. And then for you can also use flowcharts. I like personally I like LucidChat. LucidChat is really nice for getting things into graphical context. So you can use if you if good UIs don't excite you, you can use something called diagrams.net.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can use this to do diagrams for flowcharts and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Then, is there some specific reading material that you'll find particularly interesting that will assist with this? And also, is there like somewhere where I can get a database to try and model and create, several use case, model on my own or something of that sort?
Yeah. To start, you can use something called OWASP has a cheat sheet. I think that was the
Okay.
very first place I started. So if you just go Google OWASP threat modeling
Okay.
cheat sheets, yeah, it's basically the first thing that comes. Yeah, so this is a summary of threat modeling, and then you have
Hello, Kiiru.
yes, hello.
You're not sharing your screen.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry. So you have Lucid Chat to do your diagrams, and then you have OWASP threat dragon to come up to decompose your application and map the threats, and then
yeah.
you have and then to start learning, you can look at the threat modeling manifesto or the OWASP has a cheat sheet on almost everything application security. So
Okay.
you can, there's one on threat modeling. It will give you an introduction to threat modeling from a holistic perspective, and then narrow down to stride. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I think this has really been helpful for me because, for a minute, I know I love risk management and stuff like that. And I also love managing risks online, and whatever you presented, it's really it's really human centered in terms of how one will think, especially in terms of current organizations and stuff like that. So I'm really excited. There's something for me in this broad computing world. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Lisa. There's also, I see Tracy Magoma has commented on the Q&A. She says also there are other tools that can be used for threat modeling, Iris Risk and Microsoft Threat Modeling tool. So we can also look into that. Any other questions? Any last question before I bring the session to a yes, Beatrice.
Good evening.
Hi,
So,
Beatrice. Hi.
good. So, I see similarity between software development, lifecycle, and threat modeling. Is it something that maybe it can be incorporated in software development to prevent future risk?
Yes, very much so. You done? Can I answer?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So very threat modeling, it's not whether it can, it should be added, it should be incorporated in software development practices. And I think I'm a really huge champion of threat modeling amongst development teams, because it makes work easier from a security perspective, because it gives you a chance to think about it. The best time to do it is when you're doing your data flow diagrams, your UMLs, and so on and so forth. So that's when you should incorporate it during the whole process. So this is, I'd like to think it's not even more of, I'd like to think about it as more of a development thing. It's actually the one of the big bridges uh between development and security, just to shorten my answer.
Beatrice, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Lisa?
So Kiiru, exactly what you've mentioned, like this should be a key point in development.
Mhm.
You know, I think it's part of the heuristics bit, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I think we can bring the session to an end now. Kiiru, last remarks before I close the session. Yes, Beatrice. Okay, your hand has gone down.
Okay,
Kiiru?
just
Uh-huh.
one thing before you close. I wanted to ask like people who do thread modeling, what are they considered? Is it just normal? Is it cybersecurity analyst or what do we call them? Is it part of the whole wider cybersecurity or what?
Well, threat modeling is under it's a phase in DevSecOps. So yeah, it's usually under DevSecOps. So which is or application security. So yeah, you can play around those two. So you find people who do or security assurance. So people who do security assurance, people who do application security, people who do DevSecOps tend to do threat modeling quite a bit.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you. Kiiru, if you could kindly... Yes, Salma, as the last question. Sorry. Salma, your hand is up.
Hi,
Hi,
Hi.
Salma, how are you?
I'm good. Does this course have an exam? If so, when are we going to take it?
Okay, I'll answer Salma's question after. I'm assuming that is a Cyber Shuja question, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir. Okay, I'll answer that after Frank. Frank, is that a threat modeling question?
Separate
No,
entity
no, no, no.
dealing with the
Apparently,
cybersecurity initiatives. That includes
so actually,
awareness.
it's the first time I'm joining you guys.
You have back. Uh-huh.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm saying it's the first time I'm joining you guys, and I'm really excited.
Okay.
So actually, I saw your link. I got it from a friend. So I was asking, if you guys are doing great things like this, how can I be able to be integrated to your program? I mean, how can I be getting these links to join these meetings? Do you have a WhatsApp group or something like that where you guys tend to share this content and all that?
Okay. Thank you. So we have the LinkedIn site where you can join the mentorship sessions. Those ones are open to everyone. And then in terms of application, I think the application process, you can either check our website or also the LinkedIn. We post when there's a call for applications for the different tracks we offer. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So
Okay.
thank you so much.
Welcome. In case of any further questions, you can just send an email to us or text on LinkedIn. I'll reply. Yeah,
Okay.
so I want to bring this back to the topic of discussion today. I want to take us back to Kiiru so that he can bring the session to a close in terms of modeling, and then I can take up the Cyber Shuja questions after that, kindly. So, Kiiru, back to you. You can give us your last remarks and then we can close the session.
Okay. Hi, hello again. Thank you so much for having me here. Um, in this 1 hour and approximately 23 minutes, I hope you learned something new, something interesting about threat modeling. So for people with software development teams who work with software development teams, this is something that will be very nice in building in ensuring that you're able to build apps that have security from the ground up, and you also need to ensure that you have yeah, this will also help you if you need to. I hope that this will help you to get into fields like software, to get into fields like they call it on LinkedIn, they call them software security, DevSecOps, and application security. So yeah, if those are the some of the things that you'd like to do, then this is something that is good for you to know. And I hope that this point will point you in a direction that will help you make become that to become a better security. I don't like using the word engineer, but to become a better security specialist or enthusiast as the days go by. Yeah, so and then thank you so much for Sempa Shuja for giving me this opportunity. And it's always nice having these sessions. It also pushes me to learn something new every once in a while. So yeah, thank you so much. And should there be any other opportunity, I'm looking forward to it. I think that's it for me. Uh, you can now close the session.
Okay, so thank you so much, Kiiru, for your time and for going extensively into threat modeling. I think we can all appreciate looking at it from the business perspective, seeing also not just for software development teams, but also for risk teams, for, just even while you were presenting, I was thinking of people who are working to, what is it called? With board members to just put in some mitigation areas and such things, and the way you brought in threat modeling in the sense of even explaining to organization heads why you need different systems in place, how security, in a sense, what do we say? How security boosters the processes of the organization, and how that comes down all the way to threat modeling. So thank you so much for giving us the business side of this and how to actually talk to maybe techies as such, and also how to incorporate the tech part in it too. So thank you so much, Kiiru. This was very informative, and I hope we all have something we've learned. For those who it's the first time interacting with threat modeling, like Kiiru said, I believe Tracy Magoma's video where she did threat modeling some time back is on our Cyber Shuja page. So you can Cyber Shuja YouTube page. So you can just look at that to give you a basis, and then in your own time go through this again. And I always encourage us to practice beyond this 1 hour that we have for the mentorship session, so that this can add value in terms of your career and such. So thank you everyone for joining. It's been such a pleasure, and see you next week on Thursday. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm left with the Cyber Shuja team who had some technical questions. Or is it administrative questions? Yes, Salma's question on the exam. So we have a mid exam and an end exam. Allow me to just check. I believe the mid exam was announced in the groups, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So I see Jen posted the mid-exam is on the 2nd of November. And that generally tests your knowledge from week 1 to now, just before the exam. And then after that, we have an end exam that comes after week 12. So those are the exams you will sit for the Cyber Shuja tracks you're doing. Yeah. Palma, is your question answered?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other Cyber Shuja questions?
Are you doing
Yeah.
it online?
Yes, it's online. Yes, Sharon?
Hi, Hope.
Hi.
For me, it's that I still don't have access to the LMS. I've not gotten the email. I've been writing emails, but they've been going unanswered.
Which track are you doing, Sharon?
Cisco, the one for Cisco, ethical hacker.
Okay. So let me make a clarification. The midterm exam for the 2nd of November is for the security analyst and the cloud and network security courses, those two tracks. So in terms of Cisco, I don't know how you can share your. Could you just forward the email you sent to Cyber Shuja to me? Just use the email that is being displayed here, nasirian.hope22, and then I can follow up with Jen on that kindly. Sharon.
Thanks.
Yeah. For that email, yeah. Salma, do you have another question? Your hand is still up.
No, I'm okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen?
Hello.
Hi.
Just to clarify, so you said
Mhm.
that you're going to be having an exam on the 2nd of November for the ethical hacking.
I'm not sure about the ethical hacking. Was it communicated that you're having an exam?
Not really.
Yeah, so the communication on the exam I've seen is on the security analyst and cloud and network security course. If no communication has been done in your groups for an exam, then no, you don't have an exam.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Any other question? Yes, Jeff?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have access to the course materials for this course.
Which course are you taking?
This is the ethical hacker training. Cisco ethical hacker training.
Okay. Do you mean you aren't given credentials to the platform, the learning platform, or what do you mean by you don't have
Okay,
access to
so
material?
okay, I started I started late. I started yesterday actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a bit behind schedule.
Okay.
Yes, so and I'm seeing it's a very practical course. So yeah, so that's what I mean.
What course material are you lacking?
Cisco. I've heard there's a lady who has mentioned the same.
So my question is, can you log into the Cisco NetAcad platform?
No, I cannot. I don't have
So,
the credentials as well.
okay, so you don't have credentials. Have you sent an email to info at Cybershuja?
Info. No, I have not.
Okay, just send an email to info at cybershuja I think it's .co.ke, and then I'll still mention your name while I'm following up for Sharon so that they can check on your email. Send that by tomorrow kindly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can send it right now. Should I CC you?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. So thanks.
Welcome. Bernard? Bernard, your hand is up. Is that a question? Okay. So in case it's a question, you can either reach via your email or LinkedIn. Hope Nduta. You can send a message either way. Also, if there are any other technical issues that you haven't checked with info@cybershuja, that's the official Cybershuja email. So just send an email to info@cybershuja.co.ke. Okay. So thank you everyone and have a lovely night. Bye.